Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Angel Hines. I am the Vice President of the Black Student Union here, and I would like to welcome you all to the second annual Culture Shock. We are glad that everyone could make it here this afternoon. You would all be wondering, what is Culture Shock? Culture Shock is an annual Black student-led event that highlights the art, music, culture, history, and food of the African American community during Black History Month. Black History Month is an annual celebration of achievements in the short month of February, made by Black Americans and a time to reflect on the central roles of African Americans in U.S. history. This month highlights the good, the bad, and the ugly of our history. However, our history does not begin with slavery and does not end with Martin Luther King. Let us all celebrate this month the many accomplishments of Black people. But also remember that every day we are still fighting. Our ancestors have fought very hard to get us to a point where we are able to have a Black History Month, yet it still does not feel like enough. So remember, my brothers and sisters, to continue to use your voice and never stop fighting for what you believe in, like our ancestors did. Progress comes from inside our circle. Work our way outwards. This is how we can achieve Black unity. As you all today listen to the many presentations and enjoy the food, just remember to always keep our history in mind, not during Black History Month. Now it is with my great pleasure to introduce the president of the BSU, Juana Marina, with her presentation of the African diaspora.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Juana Marina. I am president of the Black Student Union, and I'm grateful to welcome everyone to our second annual Culture Shock. If you were with us last year, you know that I begin the event with a long presentation about why the brethren and sisters in here are here. I tweaked it a little bit, so you'll only listen to me talk for about 8 minutes instead of 9. Cue the laugh track. Before I begin, I just want to reiterate on my vice president's disclaimer. Black history does not begin with the tragedy of slavery. But to highlight the culture of the diaspora, that is where I will begin. With that being said, what is a diaspora? The diaspora I'll be referring to for my time up here on the podium is going to be the transatlantic slave trade and African diaspora. It was the forceful removal of African people and the dispersion of them throughout the Americas and the Caribbean. 11 million people from the west coast of the African continent, mainly Nigeria and Ghana, were enslaved. Now, why did this occur? We all have a basic understanding as to why slavery happened, and to restate that in a very, very simplistic way, colonists could not enslave the indigenous population here. They brought over certain diseases that the population could not fight, and that dwindled their population. With the rapid decline in the population, the next option was to bring over people to work the plantations, and those people were Africans. They were forced to fulfill the role of laborers. Now, why Africans, you may be asking, off this very vast planet? Geography was the first factor. Due to geographical location and limited travel options in the 15 to 1700s, Africa was the most easiest and efficient choice. Another factor to be considered were that Black people were seen as inferior by many, almost universally. So it wasn't considered slavery, it was simply acquiring property. So on the journey here, many of our ancestors were brought on slave boats, and I'm just going to discuss what happened on the journey there. Ooh, I'm behind on my slides, so sorry. Those who were stolen from their homes did not leave without a fight. Many mutinies did occur, where slaves took over the ships of their captors. Some people refused to be slaves and could not bear the thought of leaving their families, so mass suicides were common. People believed that death would bring them back to their friends, their families, and their homes in the afterlife. Another gruesome fate that Africans faced on the journey was sickness. With severe crowding, filth, and humidity, many were subject to diseases that were left untreated. Female slaves were sexually assaulted by their captors, as they were viewed as sexually insatiable anyway. With that notion, crewmates believed that they were well within their rights to rape the women as they saw fit. Mental abuse came in the form of stripping captives naked, forcing them to dance, and simply cruelly being treated by the crew. But despite those hardships of being captured and experiencing generations of slavery, we still prospered, and our culture was kept alive. Soul food is a prime example of that. Soul food is significant to many African Americans today because it is the traditional food of their ancestors. During the slave trade, Africans did their best to mimic dishes from their homelands with the resources they had here in the States, in the islands. More culture that survived the diaspora. I'm going to begin with capoeira. Capoeira is a martial art created by slaves in Brazil. It is said to have originated in Angola. Capoeira was means to freedom and liberation against their captors. Slaves could practice it freely, as the motions of capoeira resembled a dance. Next, we have merengue and salsa. These are traditional dances of the Dominican Republic and Puerto Rico. Allegedly, both dances were created and combined using elements of African and Spanish dance. More culture that was brought over. Islam. Islam was brought over by the captured Africans, as a third of them were Muslim. Islam likely did not exist on this side of the world until then. Next to waist beads. Waist beads are worn by many diaspora women today, including myself. Their uses range from simply adornment to gauging weight loss and weight gain. Next, we have rice. Rice was cultivated in Western Africa and maintained by the slaves who knew how to tend to it. Rice is not native to America, despite it being a staple in many multicultural households in the States. Now I'll go over a couple of instruments real quick that also survived the diaspora. Up first, we have the berimbau. The berimbau is used in capoeira. It consists of a manipulated stick from a certain tree, a string, and a hollow object. So to play this, you need a thick gold coin almost, and that goes between the string and the bow. And then you have a stick, and then what resembles a woven cowbell, that shape at least. And that is filled with something that'll shake and make a maraca sound. So as you strike the string with the stick, you'll be creating a strumming and a maraca effect. Next, we have the drums, self-explanatory, and then maracas. Maracas were used by Native Caribbeans and Africans equally. Who truly invented it is still up for debate. Now for music that evolved through the diaspora. I'm going to show a couple of videos that highlight the African influences on music. The first is a TikTok I found that highlights African polyrhythms. You may see some that you're familiar with.
Beats of the Afro diaspora.
Okay. Next, we have a traditional capoeira song. If you listen closely, you'll hear the berimbau that I was talking about earlier. It's going to be the strumming noise and the shaking noise. Now next, and arguably the most important takeaway from this slide, are the Negro spirituals. These spirituals are songs that merge with traditional African songs along with the experiences of the African Americans in bondage. Spirituals are so important, and I cannot stress that enough. It was how my ancestors, and some of ours in here, expressed their faith, sorrows, and hopes. I'm going to play a bit of the Black National Anthem titled Lift Every Voice and Sing.
Facing the rising sun of a new day begun, let us march on till victory is won.
Thank you. Next, I'm going to get into the dances that survived and evolved during the... I'm going to get into the dances that evolved and survived through the diaspora. First, we have the bomba. The dance group popular in Puerto Rico and is deeply rooted in the traditional styles of West Africa. Next, originating in Jamaica, we have the Dutty wine. Before I get to that, I will say it may be viewed as inappropriate to some, but this is someone's culture, so I hope everyone has an open mind.
Dirty work, attitude, girl, them a do the dirty work. So go in the water, go in the sea, go in the bushes and go in the tree. You camp on the bed, you're not going with me. Go on the floor, camp on the TV. Go on the dresser and broke up figurine. Camp on the fan, no girl, no figure me. When we see the hot girl, them that a trigger me. Go anywhere, let woo be free. So coulda one of them, coulda two of them. Send the crew of them, I will grind them. Coulda three of them, and if I four of them, send more of them, I will wind them. Hit it with them there, hit it with them there. Anyway, them ain't goes, I will find them. Just to wind up on them, girl, you look on the girl, I'm a wild. Sit down on it now.
Arguably one of my favorite slides, to be honest. Lastly, we have the samba. It evolved in Brazil and has its roots in Angola and the Congo. Very short clip. As I reach the end of my presentation, I want to appreciate everyone for holding out. As you can tell, I'm very proud and passionate about my culture. I hope everyone took something from this and can appreciate the culture as much as I do.
Thank you, Juana, for that powerful presentation. And now I would like to introduce Danielle, a CHC student who will be performing a spoken word titled Strong Black Woman. Okay.
Hello, this is just a short spoken word about me being a strong black woman. I am a strong black woman. My dad always told me to repeat this to myself, to remember that I am a strong black woman, even through my trials and tribulations, even when I'm anxious about things in life, that I'm supposed to remain a strong black woman. When people talk about me, not to mind them, because I am a strong black woman. But how do I remember to be strong? How do I remember to be a strong black woman when women are constantly broken down mentally, physically, and emotionally? How do I remain strong when I'm constantly hearing about black women being unprotected in the news? How do I stay strong when I deal with personal problems that literally make me not feel strong? I'm supposed to remember that I'm a strong black woman. I'm supposed to be confident. I'm supposed to be confident in myself. So I take a few deep breaths, and I remember that it's okay not to always be strong. But at the end of the day, I will get back up, and I am, and I will remain a strong black woman. Thank you.
Next, we have Vice President Angel doing a presentation on historical Black figures.
Today I'll be talking about a few Black historical figures. You probably have heard of them, and if you haven't, that's okay, because some of these are very not well known. So we tend to celebrate during this month the same historic figures every year. So like Martin Luther King, Rosa Parks, basically every single basic Black historic figure you can think of. So these Pacific heroes do not fit the conventional definition of a hero because they were foul-tempered, weighed down by the personal demons, and some of them had many prejudice against them. So this first one is Marsha P. Johnson, and she fought for gay and transgender rights. She was a transgender woman, and she was celebrated as a veteran because she led the Stonewall Inn protests. She was basically a pivotal figure in the gay liberation movement. Next, we have Jane Boleyn. She was the first Black woman judge in the US. She was the first Black woman to graduate from Yale Law School and the first Black woman to join the New York City Bar Association and the nation's first Black female judge. We have Daisy Gatson Bates. She helped the Little Rock Nine integrate a high school. She was the president of the NAACP in Arkansas, and she planned a strategy to desegregate the school in the state. She selected 9 students, driving them to school and protecting them from the crowds. President Eisenhower allowed the students to enroll, which was a major victory in the South. We have Garrett Morgan, and I don't know if you guys know this, but he pioneered the traffic light and had the 3 signals: stop, go, and stop in all directions. So we didn't have the yellow light back in the day, but now we have the yellow light, but he basically made the world safer with his invention. Next, we have Bayard Rustin, and he was the original one to organize the 1963 March in Washington. However, because he was a gay man, he was kind of put on the back burner because, there was a lot of prejudice against him. So they wanted Martin Luther King Jr. to take over that role of being the forefront of the March on Washington. And he successfully organized the march, which brought over 200,000 peaceful protesters of different races and religions to the nation's capital in August of 1963. This is Henrietta Lacks. I just recently learned about her more. And her cells were able to save billions of lives. Her cells, known as HeLa cells, remained a remarkable, durable, and prolific line of cells that helped research around the world. And her cells were able to develop vaccines for polio and further advance for research for cures for HIV, AIDS, cancer, and hemophilia. The sad thing about this is that her family were never compensated for her work, and that her tissues were taken away from her against her will without her knowing. And this is the end.
Before we have our closing statements, we have a student poem from Kayla Kennedy.
Hey guys. Okay, so this poem is called The Art of Perfection. I want to lose myself to art, touch the world with my muse, give my soul to the smooth tone of colors, paint my days, watch as the soft brush strokes shift my vision, see my hours in hue, watch my life in watercolor, see my mood in the glide in each stroke upon the canvas. Watch me paint an art of perfection, of a version of me that is painted, that is pastel. I want to be the museum filled with art, museum of art filled with scenery that will convey my inner secrets. Don't be blinded by my bright overlayer of color when my surface is painted black. I will create life and love from mere color. Let me turn a dark canvas into something beautiful, something worth seeing. Like Van Gogh, let me turn something broken into a canvas filled with breathtaking flowers. I'll become the one painting that they will become lost in its color, in its elegance, captivated by its beauty.
And now we have Celia Brown doing our closing remarks.
Hi everyone, I want to thank you all for coming out today. Can I get a round of applause for all the Black people in the room, please? And now can I get a round of applause for all of our allies here today? This is my first time being treasurer of the Black Student Union, and I look forward to growing as an individual, growing here as a student at CHC, and growing as a person, a part of this society. So thank you all.
And now we will continue with eating and music and dance.